Fair enough. Tsukiji Market has been your top favorite. Oh, nice. You're currently in Osaka. Oh, nice. Awesome. Yeah, Rich Granny. Rich Oba-san. I forgot what I was even saying. Oh. So yeah, I was in Kyoto this week and last week. Time is meaningless. And I mostly hated every sightseeing thing I went to. I'm not a sightseeing person. I'm not a Osaka. There you go. Osaka. It's also Kyoto. I always say everything terribly. I don't care. Osaka. But I hated every sightseeing thing I went to. I don't like sightseeing. I don't like touristy things. I was miserable for like every time I tried to do something. The only thing I kind of enjoyed was I went to Tofukuji Temple, and I went at like 9 a.m. right when it opened. That was quite nice because the leaves were just turning. It was fairly quiet. There weren't a ton of people there, but it started to rain and my umbrella broke while I was in Kyoto as well, which was quite unfortunate. And I was stubborn and didn't want to buy a new one because I knew if I bought a new one, I would just be like abandoning it there because I wasn't going to like carry this giant cheap umbrella home. So I was trying to just get by without buying one. But it meant I got like kind of rained on. But as I was leaving the temple around like 10:30, 11, it was already getting like so crowded. So no, they're not 200 yen. They are like 700 yen to me. Like the Family Mart, like they're all like 600, 700 yen. It's this economy is rough. Yeah, it's like maybe if I had really searched around and found like a Daiso or something, I could have probably like found a really cheap one, but like just like the like convenience store ones are like 600, 700 yen now. Yeah, it sucks. Cause yeah, 200 I wouldn't have cared about, but like 600 yen, it's a bit much for just like a cheap umbrella. But yeah, but otherwise, like I did not like the bamboo forest. It was pretty, but it was just too many influencers, too many like just dumb people. And I went to like a market as well, and it was just packed. Like a man legitimately hit me in the back of the head at this market because he was filming on his phone and not watching where he was walking. And this was like a super crowded place. I mean, it was like stop and go, like walking the whole time because people are just like idiots. This man like hits me in the back of the head and just goes, "Oh." Doesn't even say sorry, just says, "Oh," like he was surprised he hit me, and then just like turns and starts filming something else. And I was like, what the fuck, man? Like at least say sorry, you just hit me in the back of the head. Foreigner, but you've been waking up very early. Yes. Oh yeah, I was gonna say the time difference too. Yeah, but yeah, you get to the quiet city. I 100% like do any sightseeing and stuff like as early as you can because it's like way nicer. But it is kind of crazy because things don't open early here. Like things don't open, like a lot of the shops it's like 11 a.m. is like when some of the shops open. I was really shocked by that. But like convenience stores and stuff you're fine, but like the grocery store is 9 a.m. 10 a.m. So that's a little inconvenient, but yeah, it's very quiet. So that's like the best time to go. So that was the problem with Arashiyama Bamboo Forest is I went at like 7:30 in the morning because everything I read was like go early or you hate yourself. And it was right. Because even at 7:30 in the morning it was hella crowded. It was not like crazy, but it was like annoying. Because again, it was like people stopping to take pictures constantly, and because people were taking pictures, they weren't being like, everyone was just being very selfish. People weren't being very aware of their surroundings, that kind of stuff. I got to hear so many people like bitching to the other person taking the photo, like how they should be taking the photo and what they needed to do and how they needed to like film it a different way. It was so many like influencer like culture. It was just like, ugh. Yeah, go like as early as you can. But the thing that nothing said is that nothing in the area, like temples, shops, cafes, nothing opens until like 9. at the earliest. So I got there, and like while it was nice to like walk through the nature and see the stuff, nothing was open else otherwise. So I got like through everything within like an hour. And honestly, my favorite part of that is I walked past the forest and went into just a public park that was nearby, and all the signage for the public park was in Japanese. So I think people didn't realize it was this public park that you could just like walk into. And so I was like, oh, well, I'll walk into this public park. And it was great. It was just quiet. It was nice. There was just like nature to look at. Very, very small, but it was at least like not just like full of influencers everywhere. But yeah, so that's like, if you want to go to it, but go very early and be aware that like nothing's going to be open until like 9. But at 9, it was getting insanely crowded. It was like tour groups were coming in. Like, I mean, it was wild. The O shape is the inevitable stab wound. Yeah, I was like, bro, that guy pissed me off. And then later a girl bumped into me, like barely bumped into me at all, and she was just like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like, I was like, the two extremes of like, man who just flat out hits me in the back of the head, doesn't say his fucking thing, and then the girl who just casually like bumped me with her purse and was just like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. And I was like, dude, it's okay. Like different aspects. There's 2 different types of people, right? Your main memory of the bamboo forest trail was you doing your most exaggerated voice when telling your cousin, oh wow, look at how vibrant and refreshing this trail is. You sound like a promo. Yeah, and oh, the train also was confusing. So Kyoto also fucking pissed me off. The subway system and the trains were super annoying. They were not very clear. And the senseis I talked to agreed with me on this. So it wasn't just me being like a foreigner. They were also like, no, this subway system, it's like the signage is poor. It doesn't make sense. Like, things are confusing. Some of the stuff you pay when you get on, some of the stuff you pay when you get off. And the train to Arashiyama, the bamboo place, was a pay when you get off sort of situation. But no one was really being clear about that until you're like on the train, and then you can see all this signage that's like pay when you get off. But until you get to the train, there's like nothing about that. So like there's like a stand where like you would normally like scan your transit card and stuff to like go in, but that was supposed to be only for people leaving. And there was this like station attendant there, and this was the problem I ran into with Kyoto too, which kind of like annoyed me a little bit. Seeing a foreigner, people immediately would talk to me in English, which is fine. But I would like ask them questions in Japanese and like show that I knew some Japanese, and they would still talk to me in English, but they would be struggling in English so much that I couldn't understand what they were saying. So I was like, please just say it in Japanese so I can try to understand it in Japanese, because if you say it in Japanese I might understand, but in English I do not understand what you're saying. And so like this was a situation where I went to try to scan my pass because the train was like sitting there and it was supposed to leave in like a minute. And so I was like, oh great, I caught it. And so I like went to scan the pass, and the guy was like, no, and like put his hand over the reader. And I was just like, oh, doshite, like why? And he was like, in English, he just goes, this train leaving now. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to be on that train. Like I was just like, okay. And then he was and I was like, okay, so I can't write it. And he's like, leaving now. And he's like, it goes away. And I was like, well, I would expect the train to go away. I want to ride that train away. But so I was just like, okay, fine. Like maybe he's just saying like, it was kind of like a weird station, so maybe he's just saying like, no, you can't approach the train now, it's about to leave. Like I don't know, but I was like not understanding from what he was saying. He was just like, this train leaves now. And I was like, okay. So I waited a minute, stood there at the thing, and he's just silent. We're both just standing there, and then the train leaves. And so then I go to like try to scan it again. He's just like, oh, no scan. And that's all he says. And so then I'm trying to ask him. I was like, okay. And then then it started to click where like maybe I'm not supposed to pay now. And so I said in Japanese, I was like, okay, I pay after I ride. And he just goes, yeah, no scan now. And I was like, uh-huh. And then I watched this lady just like walk in, and I was like, okay. And then I just followed the lady. But I was like, dude. Bored of the train anyway. Yeah, I know. Well, I was just like, dude, if you just said like, don't like pay when you get off the train. If you just said in Japanese, pay when you get off the train, I would have understood that. That would have made like total sense. But when you just say, no, this train is leaving, I'm like, okay. Like, yeah, I know it's leaving. But that's like a couple of my experiences were like that, where I genuinely was just like, just talk to me in Japanese. Like, I get that you're trying to like say stuff to me in English, but like I can speak some Japanese, I can understand some Japanese. Like, give me a shot, because your English doesn't make any sense. Thank you, Chubsy. Enjoy your lurk. The other time it happened that I can think of right now was I was in a restaurant. It was the restaurant I did not enjoy, where the waiter kept trying to speak to me in English. And I kind of came to the point where I was like, maybe he just wants to speak English. He was a young guy. I was like, maybe he just was like really excited to try to speak English. By the end, he was speaking to me in Japanese, because I think I got to the point where I was like, dude, please. But basically in Japan, so you don't tip in Japan, right? For meals. But they do have something that's called like a service charge, where they basically like charge you like a pretty low amount, like a couple dollars, just for like being there. So it kind of covers the cost if you're like not ordering a ton of, like if you just order a drink or something, it kind of like offsets, so they don't like totally lose out on you. But it's just like, it's applied to everyone. There's just this service charge all the time. But what people do is they don't just charge you. So it's not just like a cover charge, although some places it is, but most places will give you something, like they'll give you like a little snack or like a little like thing, and so they'll just be like, this is the service charge. And so it's just like a very common thing or whatever. But essentially this bar gave that, but he gave it to me like with some of the food I ordered, which is unusual because usually it like comes a little bit earlier. So I was already kind of like, what? But it was just this like very tiny, it looked like a little spice packet. Like I was just like, what the fuck is this? And so he was trying to say in English, explain what it was, but he just basically said this, because you are here, only here, this. That was what he said. And I was just looking at him and I was like, only hear this. And I'm just like, what the fuck is he trying? Is this like something unique to here? But I was like, essentially it's like a little dried ramen snack is what it was. Yeah, and he just kept going here, because here. And I was just like, because here. It was just like, I don't fucking know what that means. And then he kind of like said a little bit in Japanese, because you're eating here. He said in Japanese, like, it's the price for eating here. And I was like, well, fuck, it's the service charge. If you had just said, like, what it was, I would have totally understand. But instead, I'm just staring at you while you're going, because you're here. And I was like, yeah, I was just like, there was a lot of that where I was just like, please, you gotta help me out a little bit here. But yeah, it gave me anxiety. So that was the thing, Stephanie, is I was just like, I felt so anxious in Kyoto because I was just by myself trying to function, and it was just like, so everything was unfamiliar. It just felt very different. Yeah, so it was just, it was wild. Wild times. I must defend Japan from invaders. I will do a terrible job at that. Okay, I'm an alcoholic. I need to enter the harbor.
No, you don't. You need to get another drink. Occidental Haplogroup B4 is done giving orders around here. The influence of the ham sandwich race is waning.
The ham sandwich race. I've been living here a year and a half. Yeah. I moved here March of, basically April. I moved here like the last week of March, so I don't think it really counts. April of 2023. So yeah. One of the rarely mentioned challenges of learning a foreign language is figuring out how to reverse engineer others' broken, your native language.
Get away from my boards!
So much. Yeah, that's me defending Japan. Get away from my boards. Yeah, this was like the first time in a long time where I've had to like really struggle with people speaking broken English to me and me being like, I'm trying my best. Like I really was like, I'm trying, because I know my Japanese is frequently broken, and so people are having to like kind of piece things together. But this was like, those two experiences, I was like, I'm very sorry, I have no fucking clue what you're trying to tell me. And if you just say it in Japanese, maybe I'll have a better chance. Stephanie, I've really, really liked it. For the most part, there are a lot of hurdles. So I wouldn't recommend it for everyone. Like definitely like take it as a serious like decision. Don't rush into it. But yeah, working remotely, the visa thing it might be the tricky thing. If you're somehow, because you can only be 3 months. If you're US or Canada, I forget, Steph. US, you can only have 3 months visa. But if you have some setup where you can have like a job or something, I think you can get it expanded. But otherwise, it's a 90 days situation. But yeah, it's okay. But Japan is a country where there's tons of Steph is pro. Lots of bureaucracy. So when I first moved here, had a lot of, because my visa was kind of fucked up when I moved here, so I had to go through a ton of shit with the immigration office that was really stressful. They were always pleasant, but it was just a stress to me because I was like, am I gonna get kicked out because of something that isn't my fault? Because it wasn't my fault. It was like basically bureaucracy issues. That kind of like slowed down my paperwork, so things like weren't filed when they were supposed to be. But they were in the end they were very accommodating, but from the front they acted like they weren't going to be, so it was very scary. But I've also had situations where people did just flat out deny me stuff because of something not being filed on time that wasn't my fault. So it's like, it is kind of a little bit, some stuff was like a little scary, and the language barrier definitely doesn't help. Because I am very happy that you've had nothing but good experiences, but there are like situations where, especially when it comes to kind of like the bureaucracy stuff, where they're not always the most friendly with foreigners. But most of my experiences have been fine. But it's like there are some like stressful stuff. So it's not something where it's like I just don't want people to go in being like, oh, this is like it was smooth and easy for Rusalka, so it should be great, because it wasn't. But it could have been worse for sure. Yeah, 90, yeah, right. Yeah, so when I first moved here, I thought I was gonna have to come back, and like I thought I was gonna basically come and then within 3 months have to go back to the US for my visa, because of this is basically what they told me when I came, because they were like, you have to be here for the start of this PhD. But we can't like expedite your visa, even though it's our fault that it was slow. So you're just gonna have to go back in 3 months and then get your visa and then come back within 3 months or whatever, because that's like how long you can be on a tourist visa. So that was like super stressful because it's not, yeah, and it's not cheap. It's like $2,000 round trip. To just roughly, I mean, you can get deals and stuff, but just a ballpark, it's like $2,000 for me to go back to where my family lives, because they're kind of in the middle of nowhere. So especially at that point, I think tickets have gone down since then, but at that point, so I was like, great. So within like less than half a year, I will have to spend $4,000 which I don't have, like basically, because the school was also like, oh, we know it's our fault, but we can't pay for that. Sorry. So yeah, so it was like, that was a bit stressful too. Yeah, simple questions fine, more serious stuff. And honestly, for me, I mean, a year would probably be fine, but for me, a huge part of it is just, it is very lonely. Like finding friends, meeting people is tough because of the language barrier. If you're fine, like just meeting kind of like random expats now and then, It's like there are those people, but like really finding like solid friends and like getting like immersive kind of like experiences is tough. So it is like a different life. It is a very lonely life, but I kind of disappear and work a lot, so that's not the worst. But I've definitely lately have been feeling it a bit heavier, because even Crooked was talking today. We were talking about seasonal mood swings, seasonal affective disorder, and stuff like that. But yeah, especially Japan, it's like it's not really a culture of like people talking to strangers. Like it's very like, because you know, like in the US, like strangers will talk to you randomly. Like strangers will talk to you in a Kmart parking lot. They'll just be like, oh, nice license plate, huh? Or like some weather we're having, nah. Like here it's like no one really talks to you. Like the fact that that random Oji-san talked to me in the Kyoto bar was like such a huge experience, because like usually people don't do that here. So that was kind of like another big thing. Thank you for the hydrate, Bolt Saber. But yeah, so it's like that kind of makes it a bit tough. Yeah, Spanish speakers would be even tougher, I think. Yeah. Yeah, HIPAA, you have to go all the way back to the US. You have to go back to your country. Yeah, you can't just like go to like, because I was like, oh, can I just like fly to Korea and then like come back? No, you have to go all the way back to the US for that. Hey Pogo, no boat. Yeah, but we have been talking to this racist guy for a while. I've been very chatty this stream, even more so than usual. But I had a lot to talk about because I just got back. But yeah, it's kind of lonely. But if you're somebody who's like kind of like independent and fine, it's not that big of a deal. Maybe Guam. Maybe it would. My thing was because of like where my residence was, I had to apply at like a particular, I don't know if this is like, but I had to apply at a particular embassy because of like where my address was, my like home address was. I only had like this particular Japanese embassy I could apply to. I could mail it in, but it would take like extra time. So I was trying to figure it. That was the other thing. I was trying to be like, okay, can I like basically go in person, then pay for this hotel and this, because then you could do it within like I think like 24 hours or 48 hours. Yeah, where are those winter depression folks at? Hell yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying to Cricket earlier. No Pogo was like, it's the sunlight for me. The sunlight is like the lack of long hours of sunlight really gets to me. The cold isn't that big of a deal to me. I don't mind the cold, but like the light, the fact that it's like dark by 5 p.m. here and the sunrise is around like 6:30. It's just kind of tough. Yeah. Yeah, Hawaii. That would also be, dang. I've never been to Hawaii, actually.
Does this remind you of someone? The guy down there?
Yeah, he does remind me of the racist guy. I think, so Randy, I do think it's possible to make friends here. Especially if you're like an outgoing person. The thing, like, and like, that's the thing is I do think there's tons of opportunities to meet people and make friends if you're like an extroverted person that just likes like, as much as I might seem like a very like friendly, outgoing, extroverted person, I don't know, maybe I don't. I'm introverted. Like I am actually quite shy in real life. And so especially it's very hard. If you start talking to me, I warm up pretty quickly. Like I'm a pretty like comfortable person to talk to, but I'm very shy to start with. So I'm not very good at meeting people. I'm not very good at like, you pretty much have to like talk to me to get me talking to you. I am not one who usually initiates conversations here. In the US even, I really didn't, but now and then, if I felt pretty confident. But so yeah, I think if that's probably part of the issue for me. I think I could probably make a lot more friends, but I'm just not very good at that. It's better now that you're in freelance and work from home. Oh yeah. When you get to like work from home and freelance, you get a little bit. You can at least like explore a little bit. The worst was when I lived in Alaska, and I would genuinely walk to work and it was dark, and I would leave work and it was dark. It was terrible. It's really sad. Oh, we have another ad break coming up. You want to do number 1 to meet? I am kind of interested in that. I don't think trying to intimidate him is gonna work. I think that's gonna like kill us. I think I want to call him racist though. I'm gonna wait till after the ad break though. I'll before we make that terrible decision. Yes, Demean, I will also say that though. All of my like positive experiences with meeting people have basically been when I show that I'm trying to speak Japanese. People are usually like much more friendly to me. I think a lot of it is like people here are very nervous about trying to speak English. English isn't really spoken a lot by many people here, and I think people are very like embarrassed of their English. So I think some of it is they genuinely get a little nervous thinking that they're gonna have to speak to me in English. And so I think when it's like I try to show that I want to speak in Japanese and talk to them in Japanese, I think that helps. But some people just don't want to talk to you, you know. And also it's like I can only say so much in Japanese because I'm terrible at it. You'll take me by the hand, you'll be like, hello, this is my friend Ruby. She's cool and likes to hydrate. Oh, that'll make me so many friends, Randy. Thank you. You're the same, Jogger. You ignore people all the time unless they start talking to you, and even then you don't say to them. Yeah. I'll have to tell you guys about my experience going to the boxing gym last week, because I think it was a pretty good example of like how I genuinely am with strangers. But anyway, we're gonna have a quick ad break first though, so you can remind me of that, or if you don't want to hear about it, don't remind me and I'll probably forget. But anyway, let's do some more words on stream. Yeah, people scary in real life, right, Cheese? Cheese, I would stand in the corner with you. We can quietly look at the floor together. I would be solidarity wallflower with you. But let's do a quick ad break. I'll see you guys here in a little bit. Good luck with words with friends. Words on stream, I mean. Fuck, I don't know what's happening, but all right, see you soon. So if you're here for a feet stream, you'll be disappointed. I'm gonna be the very best. My mom, she told me not to eat the Pokemon. I said, that seems like a good idea. We gotta put it in the theme song because people have been confused about that lately. This is what you wanted, chat, right? This is what you wanted. Our engine runs on mistakes here. Uh-oh. No! I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to actually hurt somebody. Where's she going now? You know? Oh, you moonwalk. You're fast and slippery. I shouldn't say things like that. No, chat, don't, chat. Chat, we talked about this. You're not supposed to give me away so fast. Like, you gotta, like, lead in with, like, oh, she's a great person. Like, she, like, gives to charity and occasionally commits crimes. Like, you gotta, like, soften the blow. My bloodlust cannot be satisfied. What? You know what? I'm on a murder spree. Come on. Kill that man. Step on his head so it looks like an accident. Look, it's better go to jail than to die at my hands, I would think, right? I was trying to be all cozy and like comfy for this stream today, but yet I default back to my old ways. Fuck the Aristocats. He broke his legs. I broke his legs. But truly, honestly, don't eat the Pokemon. I'm gonna be the very best. Like no one ever was. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. I'm a cool kid. Right? I mean, look at me. Do I look like a cowboy person? Pew pew, shoot my guns. Howdy. Howdy, partner. Chat, tell me I'm cool. I'm bald. My dad's a scientist. He kills people. I'll pack a chainsaw. I'll skin your ass raw. And if my day keeps going this way, I just might break your fucking face tonight. I don't think this is good, is it? For the sake of this drawing, I need to know your credit card numbers and the that little 3-digit code. And the expiration date too. Just for the purposes of this drawing though. It's important. You hear how sticky it is? I'm so excited for race. Say you love me or I'll kill you. It got a little weird. I need to speak with your manager. These are not the droids you're looking for. I gotta give him a little razzle dazzle. That's what I give. Let me prepare myself mentally and emotionally and physically. Oh, Dark Souls time, how I hate this game. Oh, you came out of nowhere, I didn't expect to see you here, sir. Oh, Dark Souls time, it's the time of year we hate. I'm rolling around on the ground sometimes because that's the only thing I know how to do. It's a terrible time. This man has got some shields. He's got another friend, and everything is great. My girl wants to bury bodies all the time, bury all the bodies all the time. Doesn't fit quite as well. Bananas and pajamas, they slowly poison you. Now don't go wasting my precious time. Uh-oh. Do you ever just feel like sometimes you just need like a really good think and you just feel like